Just a quick warning on this one before we start. It's got, and I didn't mean this before I started recording, an astonishing amount of sad, grotesque death.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
It's probably a universal fact of human culture that we respect martyrs. You know, I don't want to be one myself. I don't want to be one myself.
Yet.
But you got to respect people that die for a cause.
I don't have to, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, sure.
Some people die for causes and I think, you fucking idiot.
There are dumb causes, there are good causes.
Yeah.
People die for either of them.
Yeah.
You know, and they're pretty much universal. So who have we got? You know, just some examples. We've got your religious martyrs, like St. Lawrence. St. Lawrence, who pissed off Emperor Valerian of Rome. And it was something to do with he wanted the emperor to give money to the peasants or something like that.
Disgusting.
And the Emperor Valerian decided to roast him to death on a gridiron.
Roast or fry? That sounds like fry.
It's more like fry, actually. He's fried. He's
braised.
Fried. I think there are other people that have been roasted, but he was fried. And apparently halfway through, he asked his persecutors to turn him over to make sure the other side of his body was cooked. And then at the end, he said, "At last I am finished. You may now take from me and eat." I don't think he did.
Both of those, bullshit, but it makes for a great story. Turn me over so I'm even.
Or here's another one, St. Margaret Clitherow, who was found guilty in sort of Elizabethan times of hiding Catholic priests in her house. And
how many did she have?
Dozens, too many.
Oh, another one.
There was, you know, when you go to the shops and there's like a limit on any purchase or something. Like that. She had too many Catholic priests,
right?
And she didn't recant, so they crushed her under a door.
Crushing! I was reading about something on that only this morning, and I thought, wow, there are many horrible ways to be killed, but to be slowly crushed to death is unreal.
It's not nice. Oh. It's not nice. It's like, oh, come on, dude, it's a bit barbaric. Or, of course,
I'm going to go with that's the intent.
All probably most religions have martyrs, but of course there's political martyrs as well. Like, famously in more recent times, Tank Man, who,
did he die?
Hero of our times. No one knows. Oh. No one knows who he is. I mean, this photo is pretty nondescript. So this is a picture of Tank Man with his shopping. He's got a bag of shopping and he's got the most generic pants and the most generic shirt. Yeah. But he is standing in the middle of Tiananmen Square with a line of tanks lined up against him. So, clearly a modern hero, like absolutely.
And look, no, not a non-zero chance that right there and then he could have been martyred. No, none at all. So
I think people were watching, so they could have done it, but we would know that. You'd
think so.
I think everything I've read on it says we don't know who he was or what happened, and so not knowing suggests either he's like, I don't want anyone to find, or because the Communist Party will not love that.
No.
Or probably
you got to love generic, average height, average build guy in same clothes as everyone else, carrying a shopping bag.
Yeah. But maybe he's like the universal everyman.
He is.
He's the unknown soldier of the revolution.
What was the unknown soldier's name?
That's the point. Or there's martyrs in science. There's not as many. So the world of religion.
We're surrounded by them.
No,
I will work the weekend.
Okay, yes, work the weekend. No, look, I dug around and I thought, are there any martyrs in science? And there's a couple that are sort of valorized a little bit. The first one is a little bit tangential. He's not necessarily a scientist, but he's valorized for critical thinking. It's our old friend Socrates. So
was he Mercury boy?
Not Mercury, Hemlock.
Oh.
He was accused of corrupting the youth, or impiety, or both actually. And corrupting the youth meant making them think differently and ask questions. Not quite science, but it's pretty close.
Good enough.
And so he had a one-day trial, and his fellow citizens of Athens said, okay, you can have execution, and you've got to execute yourself though.
Yeah, of course.
Drink your potion of hemlock.
I
don't know what that does to you.
It dyes you. Makes you die.
Yeah, probably, yes. Yeah, that was known. God,
you've got to do it yourself.
Other martyrs of science. There's this guy who, Giordano Bruno.
Oh, yeah, I know him.
Yeah, 16th century Dominican friar and cosmologist. He was burned at the stake for by the Roman Inquisition for denying some key Catholic dogma. They say that it was he denied some dogma, but he did a lot of good cosmology and maths on the side. So he did good maths and then was martyred. So I'm not quite sure if he was defending science there.
I think in one of my trips to Rome, I stood in the square, or actually, no, I didn't. I had a delicious cocktail.
Stop it.
In the square where he was
standing.
burnt to death.
Oh, cool.
And the tour guide dude pointed it out, and I was like, "Oh, I have mixed feelings."
It's grotesque.
Horrifying.
It's grotesque.
Horrifying. You thought wrong. You must die now, and not only die horrifically.
Yes. Oh God. Then there's this guy, Antoine Lavoisier, famous chemist. Did a lot of stuff that you learn in high school. Lavoisier things. Lavoisier chemicals.
Lavoisier's theory of
those
chemistry.
Those ones. He did some good chemistry. And he was definitely executed during the French Revolution, but probably not for anything science related.
I think it's the wig.
No, it was that
he looks a bit toffee.
He was selling adulterated tobacco. So he was doing chop on the side during the French Revolution, and they're like, "Hey, buddy,
you're mixing it with gum leaves or dirt. That's not good enough."
But today, I'm going to tell you about a different martyr. A martyr who fought one epidemic that was killing millions of babies and another epidemic that was killing millions of mothers, and then died for the cause of washing your hands. Welcome to The Wholesome Show.
Am I ready?
Yeah.
A podcast that cleanses in the waters from the whole of science. God, so tame. Cleanses in the waters from the whole of science.
The Wholesome Show is me, Will Grant.
And me, a clean Roderick Lambert's. Cleansed, I should say.
Very cleansed. It's nice to cleanse in the waters of science.
And it's not...
Waters from the whole of science.
Both, exactly. If water comes from the whole, it's cleaner. And you do not have to, be bad too. Sometimes we need a good guy. So where am I going to start? Before I tell you about the hero, our martyr in this story, I got to set a bit of context going here. Mm-hmm.
I got to set the scene, and I'm going to start with the first epidemic that I mentioned before.
Yeah.
For as long as there had been people, it seems like this terrible epidemic had been happening. But they started to take notice of it in the 18th and 19th centuries.
Yeah.
They started to care. They started, as I'll tell you in a second, to take some action. What was it?
Leeches?
No. They'll come up later.
Drink mercury?
No, but yes, that'll come up later too.
Okay. Like burn yourself, like not as in to death, but like cook yourself, freeze yourself.
No.
Slap oneself in the genitalia.
In the genitalia. No, sorry, it was infanticide.
That looks like something entirely different from where...
It's a fancy painting of infanticide. She's got a dagger. She is...
but it's not in the infant, so, it's implied.
No, it's implied. Yeah, well, I didn't want to have a picture of actual infanticide. Infanticide is horrible. Stop. Infanticide...
Did you type that into Google? Pictures of infanticide... And then suddenly the FBI arrive at your house.
No, I don't want to. I got to tell you, I started researching this story thinking,
I'm going to jail.
No, I thought this guy, he's a hero of science.
Yeah.
I didn't know that the backstory was so grotesque.
So, okay, where they seem sick, let's kill them. Or they might get sick, let's kill them.
No, intentional killing.
As a preventive measure?
Intentional killing of infants or offspring, usually as a way to dispose of unwanted children.
Oh, that's not an epidemic.
It happened a lot.
That's just, you're a girl, I need a boy. Okay,
not technical term of epidemic. Not necessarily girl or boy. It could be sometimes, though. Often it's just unwanted children. And look, I'm not going into this here. I'm just setting this as the backdrop, but it had happened forever. There's some periods where it seems to have been almost 50% of children.
Good. And we're talking Europe here?
Everywhere.
Okay.
Like there is no country where there aren't histories of infanticide, but
I'm not surprised.
But the thing is, in the 18th and 19th centuries, people in Europe started to pay attention.
Okay.
They started to say, hang on, what the hell is going on here? This is something that we should do something about.
Well, I've noticed a lot of babies being killed. Have you noticed that too?
A lot of babies being killed.
Yeah.
Also, and this freaking horrifies me, a lot of babies just around, like just sort of
around.
Yeah, there was some writer. This was written in the Journal of Social Sciences in the 19th century. It's been said of the police with too much truth that they think no more of finding the dead body of a child in the streets than picking up a dead cat or dog.
I don't want to do any of those.
No.
So why do you want to be a cop for the corpses? I don't want to do that.
It's just horrendous.
So when you say around, you don't mean like live babies. You mean non-live babies lying around in the public.
Yeah, they were.
This is good. I like where you're going with this. This is the way to end our week.
There is a hero. I will give you a hero.
It's very hard not to be a hero in this story so far. What did you do? I didn't kill a baby. You the man or woman? Oh, I feel like I'm the hero of this story at the moment.
I'm sorry. I said I was sorry.
I'm not upset. I'm more intrigued.
So, as I said, in the 18th and 19th centuries, people started to pay attention to this. Like there's a whole bunch of sensationalist reporting, which is not really that sensationalist. It's just saying, holy fuck, why are there all of these dead babies?
Look at the babies.
Everywhere.
That would be called reporting.
You know, Paige Matheson has written on this. The horrors of child murder were sensationalized in the press. This is one of the few times. This is one of the few times where the word sensationalist really feels to me pretty appropriate.
Well, no, I'm going to say, at what level is it?
Not sensationalized.
It's not sensational. It's all sensational.
It wasn't.
Like, there are lots of dead babies. That is sensationalizing it. You mention it and it's sensational, so to speak.
Yep. Horrifying cases of infanticide were often published. Local and national newspapers identified public areas such as parks and streets where the bodies of infants were found.
Damn.
Yeah. So I'm leaving that. We just need it as a backdrop that it was pretty freaking common and pretty freaking horrible.
I was in such a good mood before we pushed record, and now I'm like,
I'll get you back there.
I don't know anymore.
I'll get you back there.
You know, I have no affinity for children. I barely like humans. Adults drive me crazy. Children, you're not even existing yet. So don't worry, I'm fine.
So the key thing is that in that time, people started thinking, okay, what can we do about this? We got to stem the tide.
I know. Stop killing children.
They did, but they want to actually, put some sort of policy intervention. Make a choice.
The policy is don't kill children.
I'm going to zoom in on one particular. So it was all over the place, but we're going to go with the Austro-Hungarian Empire.
Is that man the Austro-Hungarian?
That's Joseph II.
I've heard of him.
He was one of the pretty good, so far as they come, Austro-Hungarian emperors. I don't know a lot about emperors. He was meant to be pretty liberal, and he was pretty keen on reform and all of this kind of thing. His sister was Marie Antoinette. So she got the chop in the French Revolution, but
not as a child.
He wanted to do things. He wanted to have an impact. He wanted to make a difference here.
He's allowed.
In 1784, he did two things that really started to be a bit of a change here. He wasn't the first, but he was sort of early on in this movement to try and make a difference to all this infanticide.
It's just such a bizarre thing.
The first thing he did was to set up what he called Foundlings Homes. So these are orphanages, we often call them now, but the key point about them was that they were, inside a city, they had a little door or a little gate or a little
like child size,
small child
drawer,
or a little drawer, or a little wheel.
Got any unwanted children?
Where you can drop off your children, and so
like a library after hours.
It's exactly like an after hours library chute.
Yeah.
I'll tell you more about them in a second, but it really is. So you could come dead of night, dawn of morning, anytime you want, and pull out the drawer or turn the wheel or open the hatch, whatever it is.
Whatever your preferred.
Slide the infant in, and then you're done. You've done your duty, and baby goes on to
elsewhere. You have been endutied, baby.
And they were 100% used, like very used. So the one in Vienna that he was funding between 1784 and 1854, so for 70 years, 293,554 babies.
In Vienna?
In Vienna. Medium-sized city, not huge, 250,000 population. In fact, the population, 250,000, that many people plus a bit over that 70 years were dropped off. Huge numbers. And I was like, how do you even visualize those numbers? I thought, well,
it's 800 quarters of an Amazon jungle before it's been completely denuded.
It is not.
11 million soccer balls.
I did that.
In a swimming pool.
No, it's not that. Yeah, I thought let's do a day rate.
Okay.
So how many babies are getting dropped off every day during that whole
70 years, yeah?
That whole 70-year period. So it averages out to be like 11 or 12 babies per day.
See, that doesn't sound as bad.
It's still a lot.
That's fine.
It's a lot of babies going into the baby chute.
But it's a city of, what is it, 250,000 and
smaller than Canberra.
Up, yeah. And look, they're probably a bit bored. There's no TV. There's no internet. So there's a lot of the banging. And a lot of...
Are you saying they banged more than us?
Yeah, and without the contraptions.
That's true. That's true. Apparently,
Catholic area?
Yes, and they said that the city was potentially 10% prostitutes with not a lot of contraception. So it seems to be there was a lot of baby making.
Honestly, then I'm going to say I think that number's surprisingly low.
Well,
not positively low.
There you go.
Surprisingly low.
11 per day through the little baby drawer.
I think you mean to say only 11 per day.
So they drop off the baby and then you get to a foundling home. So everything's solved.
It's sweet. There's food, there's education, there's interesting activities. Parents waiting to take these babies on. Am I guessing correctly so far?
You're guessing completely inaccurately.
So wrong.
Completely wrong. Completely wrong.
Oh, I'm surprised.
So Codell and Barbara Carter wrote this book, Childbed Fever, and I'm going to use a lot of their book in this. And they describe the situation. With thousands of babies dropped off, only a few babies survived each year.
Yeah.
Many died of congenital syphilis. We'll come to that later.
The babies.
Yeah, the babies.
Oh, I bet that's a pleasant death.
Yeah, yep. Most died in in terrible gastrointestinal epidemics that periodically swept through.
The bloody flux.
Yeah.
Okay.
Killing virtually all the otherwise healthy inmates.
Dehydration's really good for people.
So there's one British physician went to go and visit at the time, and he said each of the babies would be provided with a comforter that's made of like a linen wrap, and it's got bread and milk inside it,
and a little arsenic just to ease them off.
I don't think they did any murdering here.
Oh, I feel like a comforter in that time would have been like, okay, you get a piece of wood instead of a rock to chew on.
It's not far off. It's not far. This food was supposed to be changed every 24 hours, but in many cases it was only renewed after a few days. This piece of fermenting filth was stuffed into the child's mouth at every opportunity. 1 minute hot, cold the next, and always saturated with saliva. No wonder it was the most efficient means of propagating the disease. So,
well, did they test that? There could have been better ones. It's quite a pronouncement without any evidence.
Yeah, okay, there are better ways of propagating the disease. We'll come to that in a bit.
Excellent.
We'll come to that in a bit. I told you this episode is chock-a-block with grotesque sad death.
Factoids.
So, of those 293,000 babies, about 80%, so 228,000 died before they were old enough to become adopted or discharged. So in the first few years, 97% of all the children died. So
all I'm hearing is that 3% lived.
It's just
I'm a glass 3% full kind of guy.
It blows my mind how horrific this is. So
honestly, you know what? I'd love to say it does, but it doesn't. For example, and this is obvious segue here. Whenever I talk to my much better half about time travel, standard conversation.
There's no going back. You're only going forward.
Oh no, my attitude is I'd love to go back to so many ancient places, but my problem is medical care.
You can take it with you.
Can I take like a
first aid kit.
A CT scanner,
first aid kit, and some Band-Aids.
A whole pharmacy.
Oh my God. Oh my. Yeah. Look,
that's my biggest concern about time travel backwards.
I think you get back in the time machine.
I would hope so,
unless you've caught the bloody flux on the pathway to.
Well, then you get back in it quickly. Anyway, yes, that 3% survived. Yay for them.
I'm sorry. I wanted to tell the story of this hero. He's a hero, but he's fighting against some bad stuff here.
He's not doing a lot yet.
Okay.
But I like the background.
He'll turn him up.
Do you know what? Because it's going to make his heroisms.
So the second thing that our emperor did, he set up the Foundling Homes, and he also said, okay, let's get some maternity hospitals so people can give birth in better ways, and we can help them so that they're not so...
not actually on a live pile of dung and straw.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he set up the Vienna Maternity Home. Here, women of all stations could give birth anonymously and freely and stay there as long as they wanted afterwards. Some stayed for a couple of months after they gave birth. It was In return for the free services, they just had to be available for open instructional purposes for the training of the doctors and the midwives.
Oh, that has implications.
It doesn't seem terrible at this point. No, it's like the doctors are coming through and saying, okay, that there is a pregnant lady. And the students all know, yes, and the students all note that, and they go, "Oh, cool, okay."
Now we're going to move on to the next bed where there's someone who's pregnant a month ago,
another pregnant,
and this one 2 months ago.
Yeah, exactly.
In exchange for what? Food and basic survival.
Basic survival, that kind of thing. They also have to do a little bit of knitting, a little bit of cleaning, and some served as wet nurses for the.
I was
foundling.
wondering. I assume there's a woman with a baby on every possible servicing implement.
They took this as a good deal. Like they thought this is a pretty good deal.
Okay. What year are we again? We're like in the.
This is like between 1784 and 1830.
So being the object of study for aspiring medical folk in that period could very easily turn horrific. The drop of a hat. So this sounds actually quite remarkably good.
Well, they could while they're being studied, and there were certainly people that
were, a start to a sentence.
While there were certainly people that were a little bit worried about that. They were like, "That's a little bit intimate. I don't like that." But they could preserve their anonymity, and so they would
wear a mask.
Yes. Like there were women that would go in here and wear a mask, and not like a modern mouth mask, but a whole face mask the whole time.
Not like a Zorro thing. You just can't quite see everything around the eyes.
Probably.
You have no idea who I am. I could be anybody.
I don't know if Zorro's giving birth in the Vienna hospital, but
you don't know. That's my episode next week.
So they would also they wouldn't tell anyone their name if they don't want to, and
that
so
would help with anonymity.
They would go in because spoiler.
Yeah.
Death rate was a little bit high sometimes.
Among the mumsies?
Among the mumsies.
Oh, good God, yes.
So they would take they'd write their name and their like next of kin, their friends or their neighbours, and they'd write it and put it on the shelf above them in a sealed envelope. And so when people died, they could just go, oh, we know who to alert afterwards.
What a chip away. Here's my, I've signed the consent forms. I'm going to put my shoes over here. Here's the envelope to open after I'm dead. I
am very happy with next of kin procedures, but we talk about next of kin very much. Okay, if there's an emergency to do it, but the fact that they very much knew, solid chance you might die here.
Yeah.
Right, just write a name down so we can do something with the body.
Listen, we're going to give you a sandwich in a moment.
Yep, that's fine.
First
just
up,
give us a name.
Here's a quill and parchment.
Okay, so as I said, it seemed like a really good deal, and the Vienna one was actually a really. It was probably more progressive than the most because they all got their own guaranteed bed, one bed per patient. I was reading at the same time.
Show-offs.
I was reading at the same time. There was a similar clinic in Paris at the Hôtel Dieu where there was generally 3 or 4 patients in each bed. The pregnant and the recently delivered, the diseased and the healthy, prostitutes and married women, all were mixed together indiscriminately.
Were the prostitutes still working at the time?
It's possible.
Because that does add another layer.
Yeah.
So I assume a bed is single?
Well, these beds here look a little bit bigger. I think they're the beds that they can buy. Maybe they go down to your bed shop and just get a couple of queen
Fred's
beds. Get what we can get. They don't look a lot like hospital beds. They look like you could fit a few people in these beds, but I don't know if I would want to be lying in a bed where someone is delivering a baby at the same time as me, I think. And
banging a client as next to them.
There was one story as well. I love this, that apparently, I think this was in the Vienna hospital.
Yeah.
The nurses sometimes would work 24-hour shifts, and they didn't have facilities to sleep in, so they would sleep in the same rooms as the patients or occasionally in the same beds as the patient.
What the hell? How else do you get to know them? Like, you can really feel what's right and wrong with them.
If you want to give proper care, you need to understand your patient fully and intimately.
And proper care involves night hugs. So I want to be a nurse. Are you serious? You want to be a nurse? I think it's hard enough now.
I salute all of the heroes in this story. I salute all the heroes in this story.
The bed makers.
Anyway, as I said, the women of Vienna, they love this. It was free care, free food, free bed. You just got to get looked at a little bit, but you can put on a mask and you maybe do some cleaning or some knitting. And something like 97% of the pregnant women of Vienna took advantage of it. Huge numbers. They're like, yes, let's go there. But there was a problem.
What was it, the decor?
You see, a rumor got around, and it was pretty accurate, that while the hospitals were free, they called them houses of death because
it's a fun little nickname.
Kind of were. And that brings us to the second epidemic. My goal here is to make you feel happy about the modern world.
I already am, and it's already working. Whenever I hear a story about old medicine, I'm like, wow, that's interesting. And also, but then the next thing I think is people in 50 years, Betty at 100 years, are going to go, you freaking animals.
God damn, I really hope that whatever we've been doing, they will have improved on.
They will be horrified. Think about surgery. Surgery is butchery. We just have better drugs, right?
You down with the Star Trek surgery, sort of wave a science wand over the top of someone.
And a light comes out and you're like, I no longer have cerebral edema. You know that you've heard it 1,000 times.
I'm with you. Look, this is one of the things I want to do is provoke an emotion of loving the present in you.
Yes.
So here was what the houses of death were all about. At the time, it was called childbed fever because you got a fever when you're in the childbed, the childbed. The bed where you
from whence a child springs forth.
So here's an account. Here's an account of this. This is from Carter and Carter's Childbed Fever.
Yeah.
This is a pretty typical account, they reckon. Mrs. Y, a lady near the Abbey, young and of strong and healthy habit, after a labour perfectly natural, was suddenly attacked with a violent shivering fit the third day after delivery. She was affected with a thrilling, uncommon sensation as if a cold, wet sheet had been applied around her body. Ooh. She complained of headache and was sick at the stomach. During the excess of febrile heat, I don't know, her pulse beat.
She had a fever.
Her pulse beat 130 times in a minute and was more full and strong than usual in this fever. Her countenance was florid and much altered from its natural state, having an unusual stare with the eyes. The second day after the attack, a violent bilious purging came on.
Oh, chundering.
The fever and diarrhea continued very violently for 3 days. Her belly swelled and she frequently complained of much pain at the bottom of her stomach.
Wait, this is post-childbirth?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, post-delivery.
Yeah.
There seemed to be obscure signs of a remission in the morning, but towards the evening, her fever again returned with violence. Various treatments were tried. I'll come to them in a second.
Yeah.
But she became delirious, her eyes bloodshot and filled with involuntary tears. At the same time, lesions appeared very thick on her breast and body, and her stools, which were frequent and very fetid, came away insensibly.
You got to love it when someone says, the problem is your shit stinks, and you're like, it didn't before? What must it be now?
On the 12th day of fever, she died. So, look.
12 days.
Yeah.
That in itself is remarkable.
So, how bad did it get?
That bad.
That bad times a lot of people. Bad times a lot of people.
But on the upside, same experience for all of them.
Yeah, so
it's not like it went to 24 days.
They didn't feel singled out.
No,
they didn't.
I don't want you laughing at me because I'm the one shitting myself to death for 12 days.
So the first recorded epidemic was at that hospital in Paris in 1646.
Yeah.
And then plagued Europe and America for the next 2 centuries. It'd pop up over and over and over again. So there
always among women who'd given birth.
Always among women who'd given birth. It was, I mean, these symptoms would turn up in other people.
Otherwise,
and we'll come to that later.
Yeah.
But definitely this is what they were looking at. It's women 1 day, 2 days after they'd given birth.
Great.
In some periods you'd see, there's interesting statistics. They vary a bit. 1 in 29 women delivered in the clinics would die. Whereas only one in 212 those who delivered at home. So you're much riskier going to a
good
clinic.
God.
Once the symptoms were seen, it was fatal in over 50% of cases.
Great.
Some hospitals averaged 20% of women dying, like long-term over the decades. Some epidemics, you would see like an epidemic would wave through a hospital. You'd get 70 to even 100% of women dying. So everyone.
So it's not great.
Do you want to know how they treated it?
Yeah, I really do. I'm very excited to hear this part because you know what I love? I bloody love an ancient treatment. I don't care what it's for. And the balmier the better when they kind of go, so I've seen a bat and the bat seems quite well because it just ate something strange and then it could fly off a cliff.
It's not far off. Here's your 1848 treatment.
The treatments.
I immediately order 8 or a dozen leeches to be scattered over the abdomen.
Of course. I mean, seriously, no serious apothecary and or barber would not start with leeches.
Hey,
you'd be laughed out.
There is still leech treatment.
Yeah,
I've told you before.
But not for everything.
No.
Not for everything.
Not for this.
No.
Not for this.
You seem to be shitting yourself to death. Have you considered removing some blood as well?
And then after the leeches, you rub on some linseed or bran.
Yes.
Over the top.
What? Oh, linseed, not linseed oil.
I don't know. It says a linseed or bran poultice. So.
Oh, you hot water and a piece of linen.
The vagina to be washed out with tepid water. Okay. And if the lochia, which is vaginal discharge after giving birth, be fetid, an injection of chlorine of soda be used. Large doses of mercury and opium to be given every 3 hours.
Orally or
I am really not
downstairs?
Sure. I'm not sure where you're putting the mercury and the opium.
Please tell me the mercury is going downstairs because full ingestion, not great.
I don't know. I don't know.
You imagine a world where you're going, please put the mercury up me.
I don't know if anywhere is better. And I don't know if it's an injection. I don't know anything. So
I reckon it's like a basting kind of situation. They're putting it up places.
Okay.
That's my theory.
And beef tea administered at intervals.
Beef tea.
Yeah, you get to drink some beef tea.
I love Twining's beef tea. It's my favourite.
The mercury to be pushed to approaching poisoning. When this commences, the mercury should be stopped.
I want to let that roll around for a moment. The mercury should be pushed to approaching poisoning.
Look,
to be fair, that level is any mercury, but for them,
they were wildly guessing here.
We're talking like, have you got a litre of it?
How much mercury?
How
much can you take? Should the pain not yield under these means, I either apply more leeches.
Yep.
Or if the strength will not allow of them, make use of a turpentine poultice. The effect of this last, in many cases, almost magical.
Yep, I bet it is.
It's not.
Oh, no, I bet it's magical, just not intended.
Not.
Wow, that worked quickly.
I like that he's finally gone, oh, the turpentine, that's magical. Use that last. Don't use it until the very end, though, because you want to try your other things.
Mm-hmm.
Here's someone else. The prompt abstraction of blood is called for. Mm-hmm. Take from the arm 12 or 30 ounces of blood, so that's like 350 to 900 mils.
Okay.
Depending, of course, on the urgency of the case.
Yes.
Bleed from a large orifice. Let there be a bold and full stream.
Mm-hmm.
In one word, make your patient faint. The next indication will be free action of the bowels. So what you're doing there, make them faint until they shit themselves. And
the fainting alone, shitting yourself, I get it. That's easy to do. I can do it right now.
I'm down for that.
Bleed them till they faint.
Yes.
While they've already basically close to lethal levels of dehydration.
So I think the theory here is their blood is too hot. They've got a fever. Their blood is running too hot. Get the blood out. Put some mercury to
mercurize
something. Dampen the blood. Put some liquid metal in them somehow.
That should help.
Opium would be nice. That doesn't sound the worst. And then give them an enema.
Opium is the only good thing I've heard in the last 30 minutes.
Oh my God. So alongside wacky treatments, you know, the other thing I love about wacky 18th century medicine is theories on what caused stuff.
Oh, not the hats they wear while they administer it?
So what do you reckon they think caused it?
Jesus Christ, you should have given me some pre-warning on that one because I can't think of anything that might have caused it. The movement of geese migrating across the capital.
There were some people who were close to
business,
that. Probably.
Planetary business. A subtle political mood that favoured more one sort of worker or another.
No, I don't think anyone suggested
Too little celery.
Okay. We've got the usual ones. The tightness of stays and petticoat bindings.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
The weight of the pockets, which press against the intestines and block excretion. So if your pockets are so heavy they're stopping you shit, then that might cause...
Also, your pants are too high. Your pockets shouldn't be at that height.
I have no idea. But if you've got pockets that are heavy pockets, that might cause it.
Do pockets mean the same thing now as they did then?
I don't know.
I think maybe
they
not.
Did. I think
really?
they do.
Really?
Well, look, they were clutching at straws here.
Yeah.
What else did they blame?
Maybe straws calls it.
It could be a sedentary, inactive lifestyle, improper diet, the attendance of friends in a small room. You know, if you've given birth and you've got too many friends around, that might
You probably die.
Large fires, rendering the air foul and unfit for respiration.
Large fires.
Strong liquors mixed with warm waters.
Yeah, that shit will kill you. Opium and mercury, however, no worries.
Or you liquor with cold water. That's fine.
That's true. I need a schooner of Jim Beam in cool water.
Too many coverings. You got too many bed sheets on.
Nude up.
Damage to the birth canal, which doesn't sound dumb.
They got one.
Rough birthing examination by foreigners.
They got two. By foreigners.
By foreigners.
Look at this. This Swiss gentleman has come in. That's why everyone died.
Damp and close houses.
Yeah.
Want of cleanliness or miasma. You know, the miasma.
Yeah, the evil air.
The evil air.
Want of cleanliness.
Yeah.
I'm going to run with that one. I'm going to go with want of cleanliness.
I'll tell you one thing. It was absolutely want of cleanliness.
I had an inkling.
There is something here.
This is not my first time hearing about showering.
As I said before, we got to turn to the hero of this story, who came along with the solution. Ignaz Philipp Semmelweis was born on the 1st of July. Semmelweis.
He makes that bread.
I don't know if he does. No. He was born on the 1st of July, 1818, exactly 161 years before me.
What?
I know.
See, everyone listening, see how he dropped in his birthday? Not that he wants a present. Yes, he does.
In Budapest.
Yep.
Or
Constantinople. Yeah.
Budapest. Yep. He was the 5th child out of 10 of a family of spice and consumer goods merchants. Just spice and consumer goods.
You were going to say spice and groin merchants.
I was not. No,
I'm very happy.
There are no groin merchants here.
You don't know that.
I don't even know what a groin merchant is.
Neither do I, but they did in Budapest.
I think there were 10% of Vienna was groin merchants at some point, but at age of 17, he went off to study the law, but then didn't for a reason no one knows.
Do you know, I often nearly studied the law, but then didn't.
For a reason nobody knows.
Yeah.
He switched to medicine.
Yeah.
Because, there's epidemics going around. It's useful.
And it's basically the same as law.
He was awarded his doctorate in medicine in 1844. He failed to get a job in internal medicine, so he decided to specialize in obstetrics, which is another bit of internal. So
I'm going to say that doesn't sound external.
On his birthday in 1846, again on his birthday, it's weird, he got a job at the maternity wing in the Vienna General Hospital.
You mean your birthday? Yep.
And my birthday too. Yep. Pretty much straight away, he realized something was wrong. Like
I shouldn't be here. I'm terrible at this.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
And so his article, he published a bunch of years later, The Etiology, Concept and Prophylaxis of Childbed Fever. He realized something was wrong because they'd made this weirdly sexist decision a few years before he came. And not weirdly for the time. It's super normal to be that sexist. But
are you judging the
it was kind of lucky
from us?
So what they did, they divided the hospital into 2 clinics that he called Clinic 1 and Clinic 2.
Nice. He's the creator.
I'll call them something different because they put all of the boy students in Clinic 1 and all the girl students in Clinic 2.
There were girl students?
Yeah, they were student midwives. And the boy students were student obstetrics. Right, so in a sense, yes, the girls weren't able to do the higher level stuff here.
Of course not.
But they were still students because student midwives in Clinic 2 and Clinic 1 was for the obstetrics.
Well, the women couldn't do it because they lack the temperament. That's a science.
And you know what is so weird? He was like, okay, let's check out on this fever, this childbed fever that all the women are dying for. Let's look at some records.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's so freaking weird. If you look at how many die in Clinic 1, it's like 5 times as big as Clinic 2.
So the boys were Clinic 1?
The boys are Clinic 1.
Okay.
So there's 5 times as many people dying in the boy clinic as the girl clinic.
I think you mean only 5 times.
And no, I do mean only 5 times because the boys cheated. and they got to send anyone who was really sick. They could send them over to the general hospital.
Damn right.
And so they weren't counted in these records.
They're not dead. They just left.
So no longer on the books.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's like, okay, there's actually a lot of people dying in the boy clinic and the girl clinic. They didn't publicize these numbers very much. Yeah, it's weird.
Why ever not?
It's weird. The boy clinic was really not good. And he's like, what the hell? This is weird.
My bros.
So in fact, those numbers are only the women who died in the boy clinic who died too fast to be moved. So all of the others, if they're getting bad, they're like, get them out of here. They'll ruin the stats.
Gonna die. No, out the door.
Out the door.
Yep. Jesus.
Okay, he noted a few other things, and I love the things that he noticed. So the first one helps him understand what's going here a lot. Women who had long pre-labors in the boy clinic were much more likely to get childbed fever, but there was no difference in the girl clinic. Weird.
What?
Weird, yeah.
Okay.
A third thing. So the women of Vienna started to realize that this was the house of death.
Right.
There's a lot.
What tipped them off?
A lot of dying. A lot of dying tipped them off, and so a lot of them would go, I still want the free healthcare afterwards. That's pretty cool, but I don't want to deliver my baby in there. So what I'll do is I'll wander around the streets, and as long as it looks like I'm going towards the hospital, then I'll deliver my baby outside the hospital. Yes. And then I'll carry my. This is Semmelweis's words.
Yeah.
They would deliver it on the streets, in front of the gates of houses before they can reach the hospital, and then carry the infant in their skirts to walk to the maternity hospital.
Standard, really. Still doing it now.
So long as it was fresh, the umbilical cord was still fresh. they would get the treatment they were looking for. So, like heaps of women did this, like 100.
What, they got the placenta slung over their
I don't
arm?
know. I don't know.
Baby under the skirt.
I don't know. I don't know. But they were choosing this rather than go into the hospital. They were like.
Also, the word fresh.
Do you want to know how many? Like,
I really do.
It's like 100 women a month are choosing to give birth as they're wandering to the hospital. They'd sort of walk around the hospital and not go in and give birth outside.
Cool. That's cool. So really, they're not that different to us. I mean, this is exactly how it happens in all modern cities today. Go for a walk until a baby falls out and then pick it up and walk to hospital.
That is your better solution, is delivering on the out. Oh my God. You've got to look at the stats there and go, hey, that's weird that the women don't want to come in here that much.
I just love being outside. Love being outside.
There are very outdoorsy people in Vienna.
I know. I'm renowned for it.
Whoa.
This is cool. You know, I'm liking, this is like watching a horror movie. Like, I love a horror movie, and this is audio equivalent.
Okay.
Without a supernatural entity yet.
So Semmelweis, he's like, okay, I got some clues now. We can start trying to solve this. So it was actually him that said, look, maybe it's the foreigner male students. Maybe they're too rough in their examinations.
Too foreign.
I don't know, but his first attempt was, okay, reduce the number of students from 42 down to 20 and ban all foreigners. Problem
is it's the Italians.
I don't know.
They make people sick, but only the Italian men.
He thought some people might be too rough, and obviously...
Whenever the solution is ban the foreigners, you're thinking, I feel like that might be a symptom, not a cause.
I feel like it might be just a wild stab in the dark.
There may be something else.
Are you really? That's what you went to. So, okay, look.
But it's an easy split to make. Let me hear you talk. Your accent's wrong. Off.
It's a thing to try.
Yep.
It's a thing to try. I'm totally...
That's the description. This chapter is called "It's a Thing to Try."
It's a variable. I get it, but it's not. But so
it's not a good one. Remove all the people with brown shoes versus red shoes.
Semmelweis is the hero of the story, but he has some dumb ideas as well.
Many heroes do.
You'll be surprised to know women still died.
Really?
The next thing they tried is they noticed that the boy clinic and the girl clinic were delivering babies a little bit differently.
Right.
So the midwives were delivering in one sort of position, and the boys were delivering in a different position. So they said, all right, maybe it's that. Maybe we're doing the wrong position.
Yeah. Can I guess positions?
You can guess, but I can't remember them. It's like the
midwives,
upside down.
all fours.
I don't
boys
know.
On the back.
Actually, I got to tell you, there's a picture of a drawing at the time of
a lithograph
of 5 midwives helping to deliver a baby, and there is some legs and arms in reaching positions. It's very, very strong.
There are levers. There are ropes.
It does look like it. Surprisingly, that didn't help.
Yeah. Okay.
But then, one of Semmelweis's friends, Professor Jacob Kolechka, he died. Why did he die? Well, he'd been doing a whole bunch of autopsies and cutting up the bodies, and then during one, his finger was pricked by a student with the same knife that was being used in the autopsy.
You don't want that.
Over the next few days, Professor developed exactly the same symptoms from which so many had died. So he's suddenly like, hang on,
he must be pregnant.
And dying of it.
It's the obvious conclusion. We have a man who's having a baby.
In the wrong position.
Yeah.
And touched by a foreigner.
The miracle is a man who's having a baby.
So there was the link. He was like, oh, there's something to do with the dead body here. And in fact, when he looked at it, the med students that worked in the hospital there were super keen on dead bodies. The medical students of the hospital regularly spent several hours each day in the morgue dissecting cadavers. Indeed, in Vienna, the medical students spent so much time in the morgue that it became the customary gathering place where they met and passed time when they're not required to be elsewhere.
Fuck on board, let's hang with the corpses.
After working in the morgue, many students also carried parts of the cadavers to their dwellings for further examination. One physician gave this advice for beginners. When you dissect, don't attack all parts of the body at once.
No.
The best plan is to take the portion you're examining to your room and keep it fresh by plunging it in alcohol. Inspect it with care and note down your observations. By this means, a head will occupy your time for 5 or 6 weeks advantageously. You're just allowed to do that. You just
5 or 6 weeks?
Yeah, you just take it home, and in your student dorm, you can have the head that you're working on.
5 or 6 weeks?
Yeah.
In your college residents.
You've dunked it in alcohol though, so it's fine. It's fine.
Also, I actually have one personal experience of what leaving an organ in alcohol for a long time. The one time in psychology, I was at a time doing psychology or neuropsych where they still would let undergrads cut shit up. And one day I was in a lab and they gave us a bucket of brains, human brains.
Did they?
Bucket of human brains, which was in itself like, well, this is confronting.
Very close.
Yeah. But they'd been in formaldehyde or whatever it was for so long that they were a uniform kind of yellow color.
Okay.
So they're saying, cut it up and can you see that structure? I was like, slightly, yes, yellow
it's
like
than
the other one.
Cutting snot here.
Yeah, kind of. But this is the same thing. So ignoring the fact that I held a brain in my hand, that you see, leave something in alcohol for 6 weeks, it's not great. Better than a head rotting in your apartment.
I just don't know if I want to have it in my bedroom. I don't know if I want
thigh.
Well, take a thigh over a head.
We take the eyes out, and don't be weird about it. Take the eyes out. So
turn it around so it's not around so it's not looking at you.
Face the wall, Kevin.
Like when you've got your girlfriend or boyfriend over, you turn the creepy head around. So
and then that's when they go, no, turn it back.
Slowly shifts back to looking at you.
My preference.
Tongue comes out.
I only date medical students for a reason.
I like it like this.
Well, now it's turned dark. Okay, take it back, Blado. So he had the autopsy, he pricked his finger.
Yeah. And so he died in the same way. So he died in exactly the same sort of fever. Other people are like, no, it's totally different because he's a man.
Where's his baby?
And he's like, Semmelweis is like, actually, this might be the clue. And the next thing he noticed is all of the obstetric students seem to have this weird cadaverous smell on their hands for quite some time, which is cool.
Here's your bed. No. Oh, no.
In May 1847, Semmelweis is like, well, we don't have full evidence of this. We don't know exactly what's going on, but it seems that everyone that does autopsies may be then passing something on to the women. And he said, you know what we could do? We could start washing our hands.
Freak.
I know. So after you've touched a dead body, cut up a dead body, do some cool stuff, wash your hands with bleach. And here's the thing. Suddenly, the mortality rate in the boy clinic plunged. It was like in April 1847, it was like 18%.
Yep. And
the next month, it was down to 2%, 1%, 1%.
Oh, damn.
So straight away, there was like, whoa, this actually changes things. And Semmelweis is like, holy shit, we've solved this problem. He was a little bit sad because he was like, oh, man, I did this a lot. Like he said, I'd spent more time in the morgue than nearly anyone else. So he said it was bittersweet. None of us knew that we were causing numerous deaths, but they'd fixed the problem, hadn't they?
Sure.
No.
Why did he go to bleach and not mercury or wash your hand in leeches? I'm impressed with that more than anything else. So they hadn't fixed the problem.
No. See, a lot of people were interested in his dramatic results, and they were watching it all over the place. And a bunch of people were willing to start washing their hands, but a whole bunch of people said, no, fucking no.
I'm not doing that. You're infringing on my rights.
So the first thing people said, look, we can't believe you. This seems weird that there's some sort of magical thing between there and there. So this is when they didn't have a germ theory.
No.
And so a whole bunch of people pushed back. His bosses said, no, give us some more evidence. I don't believe this evidence will work. It's not true. And then he was denied from collecting any more.
Good idea. If you can't prove it, stop them.
Other people said he'd found nothing new, even though, anyway. And then this is the bit that I love the best. A whole bunch of these people said, no, I'm not washing my hands because that's what laborers do. I'm a gentleman. If you're saying my hands are unclean, then screw you.
You, sir, insulting me and my family. Fuck me. That social attitude thing's great.
So Semmelweis, he didn't have a good journey over the next few years. So he discovered something that radically changed the fact that all of these women were dying, and he'd implemented it, and it had worked in his hospital.
But he insulted the wealthy.
It was ignored.
Yeah.
When his contract came out for renewal, just 2 years after showing these results, someone else got the job. The day his term expired, he asked, can you make me like a docent, which means I can be like a private lecturer who can teach? Yeah. And they denied him for 18 months saying, you can't be on campus. You can't do anything.
You're still washing your hands? Yes. Well, then you can't.
Exactly. They refused him access to any of the teaching facilities and the cadavers. And he's like, fuck. And he got so pissed off and he left.
Yeah.
He left Vienna. He returned home to Budapest. He apparently left without so much as saying goodbye to his former friends and colleagues.
Ooh.
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
He was unable to endure further frustrations in dealing with the Viennese medical establishment. For the next few years, he worked as a voluntary head physician at an obstetrics ward, and he helped them. Like, they all reduced childbed fever quite a lot, but no one else accepted his ideas. He was outraged by the indifference of the medical profession.
Fuck, it's nuts when you can literally go, see that and see that. The difference is clear. That's it. The difference is clear. What do you think?
No.
Are you calling me a commoner?
Yeah.
That is exactly not what I'm doing.
Don't believe you?
Yeah.
Can't be that.
No,
Can't be that.
You've called me a commoner. That's what you did. Cool. That never happens anymore, though. Thank God we fixed that.
He started writing angry letters.
Dear sir.
Angry open letters to all prominent European obstetricians. So he'd write a letter and publish it in the paper and call it to all obstetricians, or to this particular professor, or to this particular professor. He'd call them murderers. He'd call them all sorts of things. They're full of bitterness and desperation. And in mid-1865, his public behaviour became exasperating and embarrassing to his friends and his family.
Sweet.
He began to drink a lot. He spent progressively more time away from his family, sometimes in the company of a prostitute. His wife began to notice changes in his sexual behaviour. The company of the prostitute.
Imagine that.
I get it.
You want to do what? We've never done that before. Oh, sorry, I forgot. Okay, that's great.
There seemed to be one particular visit on 13th of July, 1865. The Semmelweis family visited friends, and during the visit, his behaviour seemed particularly inappropriate. I don't know what it was. I tried to look. I tried to find it.
Did. Particularly inappropriate.
After that, one of his colleagues invited him to look at how sanitation was working in one of the new asylums in Vienna, and tricked him into having him committed.
I was just going to say, come and have a look at this. Stick your head in here. It's going to be fine. Okay, so they committed him.
Yep. And then 14 days after being committed, he tried to escape and was beaten viciously by the guards and died of a septic attack.
Did they not wash their hands?
It was exactly the same. He died of the same sort of fever. Here he is when he died. Not when he died. This is him, age 42, which is younger than me.
42. So. Life has been hard.
It's assumed by some people that maybe he'd caught syphilis, as many obstetricians had in the...
Again, back to the time machine. If I do, I'm wearing a plastic bag on my head.
Full body condom.
Yeah.
Full body. Just, I don't want anything.
Okay.
In the years after Semmelweis's death,
Yeah.
Another Austrian obstetrician, Karl Mayerhofer, published an essay in which he argued that childbed fever was invariably caused by microorganisms, potentially coming from the cadavers that they were seeing. That too was rejected. It took a few decades until eventually Louis Pasteur would find enough evidence to say this is what's going on here, that microorganisms, and they can come in dead bodies, cause disease. So the lesson of washing your damn hands, particularly after handling a corpse, it took a long time to come through. So
is it Kuhn? Old ideas don't get reasoned out. That you have to wait for the holders of those ideas to die. I'm paraphrasing. Is that Kuhn or is that Popper?
Thomas Kuhn. Yeah.
Kuhn. Such an annoying and clear example of that. It's like, for fuck's sake, guys, stop it. Just take a moment. In theory, look at the differences. Nope, he called me a labourer. Only labourers wash their hands.
I read that and I just go, seriously, you can't take that, but no.
Well, you never know what's going to be an insult in a different time and place, but that's outrageous. So beaten to death by asylum guards, or beaten nearly to death and then infected to death.
So I think he is a martyr to science, that he fought for hand washing, and maybe there are other causes here. And, the guards weren't telling him to wash his hands, but that was the thing he was fighting for all this time. And all of the establishment rejected him at every single turn, and yet he saved millions of lives.
And it's easy to mock from this position because the idea that hand washing isn't useful, better yet is bad, is obviously anathema. But come on. Here's the two, what is it, the boys and the girls lab. Here's 1 and 2. Look at the huge differences. Now we've done that. Look at the change. Yeah, it can't be that.
No.
The one thing it can't be is the only thing you changed.
So I'm sorry for making you sad.
No, I'm happy because I wash my hands.
A couple of sources. So from the British Medical Journal, Infanticide.
Did you call it the Medical Journal? That makes sense, actually.
British Medical Journal, Infanticide
Medical Journal of
and excessive infant mortality.
Yeah.
Caroline M. DeCosta's Medical Journal of Australia on the contagiousness of childhood fever. Semmelweis's own article, The Etiology of Childbed Fever.
It really wasn't called Wash Your Hands, you idiots.
The Carter and Carter Childbed Fever book, which they noted in the introduction. They wrote this little pissy introduction. Delightful introduction. You're awesome, Carters. I love you. Which they said it was going to be called Houses of Death, but the publishers found the title too dramatic. As authors, we still judge our original intended title to best reflect the content and tone of the book.
Pretty bloody clear it does.
What do we got? The Museum of Contraception and Abortion, the Vienna Foundling and Orphanings Homes, and then Page Mathers.
The Museum of Contraception and Abortion.
Yes, there is.
Where is that?
I don't know.
In the world?
In the place.
Okay, that's a whole nother question.
Sydney Morning Herald article, would baby hatches have saved Lily Grace? And the World of the Habsburg, the Vienna Foundling Home between welfare and population policy. I just wanted to find a little addendum that baby hatches are still in use in a number of countries in the world. So
for the purpose intended originally?
Putting your baby in. So if you need to, Pakistan has like 300. Germany has more than 100.
Germany?
Pakistan has heaps. A lot in, I think there's a bunch in Austria, there's a bunch in Germany. Australia has 0. And
should we have them?
I think we should.
Yeah.
I think we should. I think it's one of those things where you think, what is the look? The foundling version is a lot better than it was. Like we can give a lot better care than they could do back then. But the historian Anne Higginbotham has shown that between 1849 and 1903, no woman was executed. This is in Britain. For the first infanticide of a newborn baby.
The first? That's cool. Wait a minute. Second strike. Once is an accident, twice we're seeing a pattern.